I uncovered my husband's cheating with our neighbor and filed for divorce. Sincerely, I'm not sure how I managed this, but it's a whole catastrophe. But we're here. I am a 34-year-old lady married to my 36-year-old spouse for 7 years. Life has been difficult for both of us since we have an 8-year-old son with autism. Up until a few weeks ago, when everything fell apart, I felt like we were dealing with it as a team, as if we were all in this together. Everyone in our small village is nice, where we live. I got along well with Emily, 32, and her husband Dave, 35, who lived next door. Although Emily and I did not get along well, we did chat a lot. Our husbands would occasionally hang together, and our children would play together. I originally thought it was wonderful that my spouse and Emily seemed to get along, neighbors being friendly. But then something seemed off. My hubby became more reserved, especially with his phone, and he regularly appeared to run into Emily while I was not around. He would occasionally go for walks or find himself suddenly in need of running errands after dinner. I saw these minor clues, but I tried not to come across as suspicious. We've been through a lot together, after all. That wasn't what I anticipated from him. Then one day, everything crumbled. I was unaware that our son's school was only open for part of the day, so I had to leave work early. My husband and Emily were in our bedroom when I walked in our bed together. It appeared as if time had stopped. When they saw me, they both freaked out, my husband hurriedly searching for garments, and Emily weeping and apologizing excessively. I couldn't understand it. Shaking, I left to pick up my son from school. When I confronted him later that evening, he admitted to having an affair with her for the last few months. He begged me to forgive him, claiming that it was a dumb and hasty decision, and assuring me that he loved me and did not want to lose our family. Even though I was sad, I couldn't look at him. I wasn't sure what to do. But I realized that someone who would betray me in that way couldn't be my spouse. And then there was Dave, Emily's husband. I knew him well enough to know he was completely oblivious of this. I couldn't just be silent and surprise him. I told Dave everything the next day, when I went over to their house while Emily was away. I even showed him all my proof. This includes writings and photographs. Though clearly unhappy, he thanked me for being honest with him. At that time, the real drama started. When my husband and Emily discovered that I had informed Dave, they both lost it. My spouse said that I should have kept it between us and worked things out for our son's sake. Emily called me a lot of harsh names, stating that I had ruined her life and that I had no right to tell her husband. She even claimed that I overstated everything and that it was not serious. Now that I've filed for divorce, Dave is considering doing the same. However, several of our mutual acquaintances have criticized me, thinking that telling Dave went too far. And that, in order to avoid separating two families, I should have made an attempt to keep things quiet. Though I believe I did what was necessary, I'm beginning to question my own judgment. Am I the idiot for informing Emily's husband about the affair and ending my marriage? Should I have said nothing or tried another approach? Not the idiot, but some comments. Divorcing your husband and alerting your neighbor was the right decision. This has been going on for a time, so it was clearly not an accident. I wish you luck. I appreciate your assistance. They had been misbehaving for some months. This was not an error. Period. Adulterers do not get to tell you how to manage the affair. Who is trying to hold you accountable for what you did? How could you have continued to act as if nothing had happened, even seeing Dave move forward? So you were just supposed to gaze at Dave every day and watch him get mocked while pretending he wasn't special. This moves some of the responsibility for the affair from them to you. Not at all. You did nothing to damage what they did. Inform your loved ones that you are all right if they disagree with you and do not want to discuss it with you in the future. It will be difficult, but avoid the want to feel horrible for anyone. Not the moron, but you. I am deeply sorry that this transpired. Additionally, tell your PO spouse to quit chatting and focus on this. Inform his family, your family, and close friends that you are seeking for divorce. For those who do not know, the basis for the filing is that you caught him and Emily having an affair in bed. They engaged in an affair, which is what they did to themselves. You tell her effing sass that by effing my husband, you ruined your own effing life. To the rest of your family and friends who keep telling you that you've crossed boundaries, inform them about this. FAT. I appreciate you showing your support for Rude. People are ignorant. I can now recognize my genuine family and friends. Correct. Get some friends to assist you rid of your mattress and bed. That poisoned waste is not something you want to sleep on. I am grateful. You may be certain that everyone will find out what he did. Narrative 2. I have feelings for Bill, therefore I need my husband's consent before we relocate to another city. My 39-year-old husband, his sister, and a 50-year-old guy of 11 years. 41 ladies are quite close. We regularly run across her 40-year-old husband, Bill. We always eat Sunday lunch together, whether at our place or theirs. We are constantly together, Sill's 3 children and I, although there are times when we are joined by relatives from my husband's or my side of the family. I'm pretty close friends with Bill and Sill. We never had issues. I had been feeling something for Bill for almost 5 years. I am sure this place would describe it as an emotional affair. However, not yet. I kept it a secret, and nobody found out. I adore my husband, and do not want to jeopardize our great connection. We are awesome together, and our bond is strong. My feelings for Bill were very confusing at first, and I went years without realizing what they were, because I love my husband, so how can I love another? When Bill turned 40, they had a big party. And I stayed after to clean because Sill had to take care of the children, so it was me and Bill cleaning. He was still a little tipsy, and he told me that he's been in love with me since I married my husband. I was shocked. He is always. I tried to ignore him, so he said it again. I told him to go to bed, and he tried to argue, but I insisted that he go to bed and let me clean by myself. He probably knows that I love him too because of something he said. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we stopped pretending and just told them? We only live once. How did he know? I cried for weeks afterwards, and when my husband saw that I was sad, he was very concerned and was so nice to me, which made me cry even more. I developed ulcers last summer, and I've been trying to avoid seeing Sill and Bill ever since. My husband became irritated with me, accusing him of not liking his family, and Sill called a few times to wonder. Now she's saying that I wanted to come between her and her brother because I never liked their closeness. I go to the dinners and ignore Bill entirely, and Sill is angry that it feels like. I want my husband to take this job, but I don't know how to persuade him. Bill texted me, begging me not to do it, and he promised not to bother me again, but just not to move away. It doesn't sit well with me. It felt less serious when it was one-sided, but now it feels like an emotional affair, and I don't want to be a part of it. It's a career move for my husband, but the downside is that it's a very small and secluded town. Keeping your emotions out of it, make a list of the pros and cons of the move. Small towns can have a big community feel. You can get a bigger home or land for less money. You may have hobbies that require more space, and the lower cost of living may allow you to save more money, so you can travel more, every Sunday at least. Now I know how he feels about me. It's uncomfortable and feels like cheating. You seem like a thoughtful person who wants to do the right thing. The career jump for husband with the move sounds like a good option and exactly what the doctor ordered. New place, new job, bigger house, explore some new interests, and breathe easy and no more ulcers. I wish you the best. E.T. Please don't feed off the Reddit drama, Anne. I, a married woman, developed feelings for a good friend of both myself and my husband, who is also married. It wasn't love, but it was one hell of a crush. I did the only thing I could think of. I told my husband I couldn't hang out with him anymore. He lived a couple of hours away, so it was easier to find excuses. I always had to work. We couldn't find a babysitter. My husband was understanding. It took 3 years for my feelings to go away, and even then it was because my husband came back from a visit and told me our friend had picked up smoking again after years and years of quitting, which is a huge turnoff for me. I don't know your marriage or your situation, and I'm not sure if being honest with your husband about your bill and why you want him to take the job would help or not. But I think my situation was made easier because my husband and I have completed. Op should really tell hubby something along the lines of I want to be honest with you. Sum up the post. I only love you, no one else. I need distance from Bill. I love you and your family, and I have never once acted on this little crush, but I need space from him. Our love is the most important thing in the world to me. Another commenter posted to think about the pros and cons without putting feelings into perspective. Mention those in the conversation. Ask how he feels, what he's... Those who read my first post know that I haven't spoken to anyone about this, and I'd like to emphasize that I've never considered acting on my feelings for Bill, even when he confessed that he had feelings for me. Instead, I've met a few kind souls who haven't treated me like I'm disgusting human garbage, so I'm back with an update because my life has just gotten more complicated and I'm desperate. After my post, I talked to my husband about the job in the small town. I told him that I wanted the new adventure, especially since it came with a 25% increase in his salary and a higher level position. My husband has been complaining about how he isn't advancing in his career in our city, and I told him that this could be the step he needed. I'm a nurse, and I could easily find jobs wherever we went because there is a shortage of healthcare staff everywhere. My husband is staying with Sil because Bill informed her earlier this week that he wanted a divorce. Sil is in shock, and my husband is there to try to mediate between her and her husband. Bill refuses to speak to any of them, and he has only been there twice to see the kids. We usually meet up with family for dinner on Sundays, but this week is different. I can't tell my husband my true reasons. I've tried so many times, but I just can't. I love him so much, and I know him so well he'll be hurt and devastated. We've had issues throughout our marriage with him not being able to perform due to health problems, and we haven't had sex in over 8 years. He's so self-conscious about it, and I can't hurt him. I think my options now are to. I'm not sure what I should tell my husband, and I'm scared because I don't know what to tell him. I've blocked Bill everywhere, and he hasn't tried to contact me yet. If they divorce, he may start pursuing you and make it clear to both your husband and Sil. When the situation calms down, you may need to inform both your husband and Sil of his interest in you. You're afraid that your husband, who already feels inadequate due to intimacy issues, will choose his sister, as he has done in smaller matters throughout your marriage, and you don't want this to come out because your wife will most likely blame you for the demise of her marriage. I understand your fear, but you really should come clean to your husband. Bill is a ticking bomb, and your husband needs to hear this from you. If he leaves you. Your husband has always been like this, and I found it odd that you have every Sunday dinner with your Sil and her family. I know he will choose his sister and will hate me forever, even if I haven't done anything wrong. I was just hoping that Bill is decent enough not to talk about it now that I've made it clear that I don't want to. I'm sorry if I'm intruding on your privacy, but if you lose your husband, it just means that you never really wanted him in the first place. Tell him the truth and let him go if he doesn't choose you. You deserve better. Oh, can I text you in private? I felt like you knew me in my life. I started crying reading your comments. Please read my other post for context, but if you don't want to, Sil and Bill separated about a month ago, and my husband has been busy being Sil's support. When my husband told me he wasn't taking the job up north because of Sil's marital problems, I understood and was supportive. We have always been close to my Sil, and my husband loves his sister and her children. I always admired their bond because I was never this close to my family. He stopped spending weeks. I didn't mind because this is all new and Sil isn't coping well after the separation, but I told my husband that I missed him and that I wanted to be with him and maybe I should tag along some days. He said that I was being selfish for wanting the attention now. His sister needed the support, and I should be more understanding. She and Bill had been together since they were very young, and she wasn't adjusting well to these new changes. I felt terrible and selfish. Every Christmas, on Boxing Day, my husband and I travel to somewhere warm and spend 2 to 3 weeks. We booked this trip months in advance, in April. Yesterday, when I was talking about our trip, my husband was so surprised that I thought that we would just go on with our plans when Sil's life was turned upside down. I told him that this was our thing, and that his sister has her own family. I wanted my family. I called my husband to inform him of the news, and he was overjoyed. However, when he returned home, he informed me that his sister did not agree, so we will be staying. Today, I contacted the travel agency to see if I could add my sister and her children, thinking it might be a good change of scenery. They would have to take a separate flight, but other than that, it was possible to do so even with such short notice. After what happened today, I just logged in and made an appointment for a job interview. I know that my Sil is hurting and that my husband is admirable for being there for her. This is all just so new for everyone and a big life change for Sil and her children, but I feel like I'm no two in my own life. I'm leaving my husband, I'm taking the new job, and I'll go with the plans and move to that small town. As I've mentioned, I've always admired my husband's love for his sister, whom he essentially raised because of their. His warmth and compassion are what drew me to him, but does it make sense that they are also what makes me unhappy? I've always known that I'm his second priority, But I've always assumed that this would change over time, first because I'm not family, and then because we don't have children. When Sil started having children, I felt like I was being pushed down the ladder of my husband's priorities. I've told him this before, and he just told me. My mental health has been deteriorating this year, but he wasn't as kind and sympathetic as I had always known him to be, the same qualities that made me fall in love with him. Not only that, but in the months since Bill confided in me about his feelings. My husband has never tried to listen to me, understand why I didn't want to go to Sunday dinner with them, or say he was staying with me instead of me when it was clear I didn't want to go. On the contrary, it began to disturb him. Despite my body's physical reaction to my mental state, I've had ulcers and lost an abnormal amount of weight. And I lost my hair. I think his canceling the Christmas trip was the final straw. I adore him so much. He spoke with me this morning before going to see his sister. I informed him he had known for a few months that I was unhappy and wanted to leave the city. I told him I couldn't do it anymore and apologized for selecting such an inopportune moment while his sister was suffering. He turned to face me, and I noticed the disappointment in his eyes as he remained mute. He was taken aback by my apathy to a family member in need and my desire to go about my life regularly. Should we ever abandon our tradition when it was required elsewhere? Will the world end? I wept because I couldn't articulate myself to him, despite the fact that, simply put, he was correct. I believe this is me moping about a vacation. I informed him I was leaving. We're all talking over each other, and nobody of us wants to understand the other. He departed. He texted me to say that he has never thought of me as conceited, and that I should make my own choices. He is not going to impede me. I don't know if he will return. Thank you for sticking around until the finish. We would much appreciate it if you could subscribe, like, and share our videos. I hope you have a terrific day.